Thank you, Igor. Thank you so much. Thank you for this great presentation. Very thorough, and as he explained, everything else is on the market guide. We can give you access to it for free. I'm sure that a lot of information can be used for all of you, for the ones going to be presenting for their pitch. If you're specialized in cybersecurity, please take the data from that document, use it wisely, and explain why you're in that space, and why the US are using that data. So thank you again. We're gonna have in order the different companies. Yeah, we will start with Allpriv. Just before Allpriv, you can start maybe putting your slide, but I wanted to have everyone, so speakers, guests, investors, before we start, to have kind of a reverse pitch, we call that. So you can explain to those 5 companies what you've been looking for, what are the trends that you think are really that you need to follow, the specific niche that you found where you think there is a market, that's why you're investing in that space. So anything related to investment or future investment, good insights for the companies. We'll have a little, we plan for 15 minutes. We can give it a good 5 minutes because we're a little late, but any insight for them would be great, because then they'll get to know you, and they can really kind of, as they present, adapt a little their story. So whoever wants to start, Elizabeth, I see you smile, and what a great smile, by the way. And please tell us, give them some insights.
Be careful, Sebastian, or I'll learn just to sit here frowning at you guys. So certainly with SWAN Impact, there needs to be some sort of component around education, around the people you're hiring, around the market approach that has social impact. We're very strong in anything to do with energy and clean tech. Certainly there are cybersecurity applications in healthcare as well. Personally, I know that when we're going through due diligence, if you can demonstrate your decision-making criteria in your go-to-market plan and the way you're scaling in the US, that's where all of our risk is. So if you can show you have a competitive advantage in entering the US and expanding in the US, then we're very interested. And that also allows us to provide better resources, better connections for partners, and that kind of gives us something to go off of. But definitely anything that contributes to making these industries safer, and in the way you do it, we're very interested to hear about that.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Great insight. Anybody else? I could go through the list. Virgil, you want to say something?
Well, yeah. So on our side, I mean, Kiwitech is definitely. We're not an investment company. We don't do direct investments, but we do, facilitate growth. And our main mission is to, build technologies that are, compliant to all the industries that we're serving. We're looking very ambitiously at unique kind of, value propositions from startups. We get to see probably a couple of thousands on a monthly basis that we enroll in our pool of valuable startups that we introduce to different investors, that we attach different growth and commercial services to. So yeah, we're looking ambitiously at companies that we can synergize with the 400 companies in our portfolio already, and of course, if it's solutions that we can take across different other industries, that's a priority.
Definitely, you're a unique animal with your 400 companies in your portfolio and all the amazing things you do. Judith Egerhardt, you want to say something? If you're around, there you are.
No, I'm here. I just had to climb back in. I have to admit that I was listening to this presentation more than watching it. And there is a great connection between research laboratories and private equity funding for good reason. Often the patents aren't available, and the cybersecurity issue is a great mystery to many, many people. So I would have to do a deeper dive, and I am willing to do that with this company to see what is really there for private equity investors.
No, thank you. Definitely, Kira. And your comment on that?
Sure. I mean, we're probably earlier stage than a lot of folks here in kind of that first step in, and we're not an investment group, but I will say that we look for very clear problem identification or the opportunity to help teams find that. Are you actually solving someone's problem? Because even if you just have some interesting technology or algorithm, that doesn't mean that it can successfully enter the market if it's not the right time and the right customer user need that you found. And then we look very closely at the team. Are you coachable? Are you willing to grow? Are you people that are investable in? I think is a huge component. And so highlighting why this, why now, I think is the basic things that if you can clearly state that, you probably have a pretty compelling case.
We raise those topics often about the why you really at this level, early stage. It's a lot about your achievements, and just shining during like a short presentation like that is very important to engage, to facilitate future engagements. Mark, representing Bianis, you have something to add? I'm
New York.
A lot to add, and yeah, representing what we're trying to do in New York. Mark?
So this is a topic that I'm trying to learn more about. So I don't have a whole lot to add in terms of cybersecurity, but from what I've been seeing, we're actually seeing a number of our local governments getting hacked, and I'm like floored at their lack of preparation for this. So it's a pretty wide open market.
Yeah, we didn't talk a lot about cybersecurity when we talked about our collaboration. We talked about other things like smart manufacturing and other topics because we also deal with the whole state. But thank you for coming, because we should have a focus on cybersecurity together, and I think that would trigger other conversation and other topics of collaboration. I'm thinking also Randy works with us so closely.
For Dan, yeah.
For Dan, but maybe
Randy and Dan, both.
already talked.
Both of you.
So any of you.
So what we see you wanted to find out what investors are looking for today. What we find is that companies need to be pretty well cooked, in the sense that they are companies that are ready for growth and scalability. So they need to be pretty well cooked. Sorry,
do you see a lot of in cyber? Do you see a lot of cyber in your ecosystem with DoD nearby and all of that? Do you see a lot of cyber deal? A lot of deals in cybersecurity.
Right. Cybersecurity. Yeah. We have seen some cybersecurity, not too many. It's a difficult issue because there aren't that many investors that understand it thoroughly. And if an investor doesn't really understand it, then they're less likely to invest in it. So the job of any cybersecurity company is going to be to try to educate the investors as to how does this work and what is it for. Now, one of the issues also that we see is that major companies and companies all over the place do not understand why they need cybersecurity. And that's why we see so many hacks and whatever. Okay. So the challenge for any company, there's no shortage of cybersecurity companies out there. The problem is trying to convince management that they need it. And you need to show that you have contacts in the industry that you can go to sell your company. Okay, so you can have the best cybersecurity in the world. Doesn't matter if nobody's interested in buying it. So that's the critical link that we see. The products are fine, management team is fine, you might even have some sales. But how are you going to achieve scalability? If you can't answer that question, it's going to be very difficult to find an investor.
Yeah, and Kia was placing what you were saying in the chat room. Louise, you want to add something for us?
Yeah, to our entrepreneurs, I can say this from personal experience, having, say, raised a fair amount of money in the Silicon Valley. Technical people like me tend to explain what they're doing instead of selling it, and those are two very different things when you think about a presentation to potential investors. So at every slide, you have to think someone in the room has a dialogue balloon over their head saying, so what? And, you know, I see an awful lot of people who spend 15 slides talking about the innards of the technology. Not helpful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Louise. Yeah, we saw a lot of heads nodding. John, Richie, your comment on that, and any your experience on cybersecurity?
Cybersecurity is complex, as most people have said. So, you know, the way we work at US Angels is that we don't have a particular theme. So basically, the bottom line is that, excuse me, I have to mute this thing in the background. The bottom line is that, you know, our investors have to understand what's going on and believe they're gonna make a lot of money. So you understand what's going on is the key word here. And as I think Randy and others have said, there are my experience is that not a lot of people understand cybersecurity. You know, unfortunately, it's a very complex, very complex market. There are some deals that we see that are kind of like, you know, obvious and don't take a huge amount of brain power. You know, have metrics, you know, other stuff. When you have the metrics, you know, my 10-year-old daughter can invest. But you know, with early stage deals, it's a challenging. Also rewarding. I mean, you know, if you look at, I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit lengthy, but if you look at, I think the track record shows that, you know, people have made money. It's like, you know, as angel investors in cybersecurity.
Yeah, definitely. It's a complex topic. That's what they're gonna live with. Samir, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, Sebastian. When I think of cyber, and we've seen this in the last few years, we find that a number of players usually focus on the bells and whistles and the glitzy new tech, and cybersecurity sometimes takes a backseat. And you know, in our own way, we're trying to change that perspective. Quite often, it's a nasty reality that hits people once they get into production services when things don't go right. Also, when we talk about cyber and the cloud, what we have seen in some of the large banks, that the patterns for security do not exist. It's still the legacy platform, the patterns of the legacy platforms that exist. And therefore, there's a growing need for some of the cloud providers to help more when it comes to cyber, to help some of these legacy platforms uplift and do the right thing. So it's almost like old meets new to build something that's much more resilient and cyber proof. So yeah, that's what I'd like to add.
Considering your past position at HSBC, you were working on that, looking at it, probably a big topic for you guys.
Yeah, we were. In fact, at that point, we were the first to put a customer-facing application on the cloud. It was new for us, and it was actually new for Google themselves at that point in time. So it was quite a learning experience to get some of the in-house capability built up to meet with some of those challenges and to understand those patterns and to put the right controls in place. Yes.
Good for you guys. Nolan, you want to add anything? You know well the European players. You have experience of the US. Anything to add on the topic? Okay, if you're not around, we're gonna have to. But you'll have time to talk there during all those Q&A for the startups. I will have then Michael from Allpriv present, so you can upload your slides. So it's about 5 minutes of pitch and 10 minutes of Q&A. You use the time the best you can and the way you want for those 15 minutes, but that's what we advise you to do to give enough time for interaction. So thank you, Michael. I'm waiting for your slide. Let me know when you are ready.